normal conventional fare from pitchers or pitches thrown to impart spin on a baseball to manipulate the break in, out, or to stay straight. Well, a knuckleball is antithetical to that in that you're trying to subtract spin. So I grip the baseball right on the horseshoe of the baseball, right with my fingernails right into the leather. I keep my wrist straight, and then I just release it at the opportune moment.
Dickey has met and battled adversity his whole life, going back to being drafted as a #1 draft pick, and then he found out he didn't have an ulnar collateral ligament, and his big bonus evaporated, and then he had all kinds of problems.
Bring the average person in through the perspective of when you are struggling and you're kind of coming through the minors. How difficult is it for you to kind of see the forest through the trees?
Well, it's hard. I think that's one of the traps, is to project out too far at the expense of the moment. I think once I really learned how to really invest in the next 5 minutes, moment by moment, things started to change for me. And I wasn't able to do that very well when I was a younger player. I was thinking about being in the big leagues for 10 years instead of what can I do in this moment to become better.
We're thrilled to have RA and his family here. No doubts they're going to love being in Toronto and certainly help us have a World Series caliber team going forward.
Some of the decisions you've made off the field and kind of the faith that you've shown in yourself on the field, how much of that is rooted in your faith?
A lot, being, and I'm a Christian and have been since I was 13 years old. You kind of look at things through a different lens, and you don't always do it right, certainly, which is a real reason that I've felt like I needed to lean on my faith quite a bit, is because I mess it up all the time. And it's nice to be able to walk in a place where you feel like you're free and liberated to be all that you can be. And I just, every day I want to be who God has authentically called me to be, and that takes practice to walk in it. It's a discipline, and I lean on that quite a bit.
Detailed in his book, Wherever I Wind Up, Robert Allen Dickey was taken to a bedroom and sexually abused by a babysitter at the age of 8. Later that same summer in 1983, he was raped by a teenage boy. Although he compartmentalized that trauma for a while out of shame, he eventually found it freeing not just to write about his catastrophic experience, but to use it as a testimony to fellow sexual abuse survivors. Your story has become such a champion for sexual abuse awareness. How often now that you're in the spotlight do you find people seeking you out and reaching out to you for some insight?
Anytime you see someone who looks like they have gotten through something very tough that you're having a tough time with, you probably want that wisdom. And it's no wisdom of my own necessarily, but I certainly can point people in the right direction, and have been glad to do so on numerous occasions. And I certainly feel like because I've gotten healthy through the process, I hope for that for other people who have similar stories to my own. And because of that, it's a real motivation to try to make sure people know that there are resources and outlets and ways that they can live a healthy life even though they've had this trauma. You have some apathy to all the lights and all the cameras. It doesn't mean very much, but what is important is the message and how you can best deliver that message.
I was really close to ending it all. I was in a car ready to turn the key with a garden hose running the driver's side window. I was that close. And the one thing that made me not do that was that as lonely as I felt, I never felt completely alone. And I really felt like God had a plan for my life, and in that moment I felt like He was telling me, you're going to do it different. This is not it. You see pictures, but it doesn't necessarily prepare you for just how visceral the experience is. The women in cages, the children that were playing among the street, among human feces and vomit. The innocence of being able to live as a child that was taken from them. That women who have been trafficked to offer them something else.
I want to focus on your philanthropic work. In the off-season, you went to Bombay for the Teen Challenge. Why that charity specifically?
I really connect with organizations that look to eradicate any type of sexual exploitation, because that's something that resonates with my own narrative.
You not only went, you took your daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that make sense, and why was that something you wanted to expose them to?
Well, I think it's important that they see that there is something outside the bubble that they live in. I think the real fruit may come years down the road, but that they have a real empathy for humanity and how the world operates outside a place that they live. I think it gives them a good perspective.
You're an English Lit major, Kuros, the karate movement or situation. Do you feel like everything that you've been through kind of has you at this place at this time when you're ready for it?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the karate moment, but it's also the journey that can be very, very exhilarating. I think getting to know the players, doing relationship with the guys, going through the hardships of a 162-game season, and being able to overcome all these different adversities as a team, and in hopes of getting to a World Series. I mean, that means a lot too. So the journey, I know it sounds cliche, but the journey is worth a lot.
Sounds like you almost embrace the grind and embrace the struggle to get to that place.
Yeah, because it's not easy. Not much worth having in life is easy. You don't always get opportunities where you're pulled together with this talented of a group. We are hopefully going to take advantage of that, not only for this year, but for years to come. And it's a neat place to be. And to be able to recognize that you're in that moment is pretty neat.
The phenomenon that is Robert Allen Dickey continues to get more and more unlikely.
And once I discovered that what I do for a living is not who I am, it's certainly something I want to be good at, the best. I feel like I'm called to be the best I possibly can at it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily define me as a human being. And when I learned that, I was able to really grow.
Someone watching could learn one thing from your story. What would you want it to be?
That's a tough question. One thing. Never abandon hope, I think. I think at the core of everything that I did was the nucleus of, or the kernel of a hope. I never felt completely hopeless, which enabled me to keep going. I think that there's a lot to be said for that. I think it may be the quintessential human emotion is hope.